Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Morning. Can you hear me at the back? No. Thank you from the front. I'm absolutely delighted to be here at this, the second of these Frimley South East conferences that I've attended, and what an extraordinary success they're turning out to be, aren't they? It really is a tribute to your regional chairman, on my right, and his team, Rob and Ray and many others, all of whose names begin with R, who have put this wonderful event together. I'm here to talk about the process by which we are setting about selecting our candidates for the 2014 European parliamentary elections, and therefore our MEPs for the next 5 years. Or perhaps less, of course. Okay, first of all, hands up all of those who have applied to become an MEP candidate. Hands up. Sorry, am I not getting through? Hands up all those who have applied to become an MEP candidate. Yeah, you see, they knew what I was asking. Thank you, well done. Okay, hands up anyone who hasn't got their application in yet. Okay, you are aware that the absolute deadline is Monday, are you? I hope so. Thank you. Well, before I talk specifically about the selection process, I apologise, my head's going up and down here because I've got a rather low dais. Before I talk specifically about the selection process, I want to be sure that we understand something rather more important, which is what kind of people are we looking for to be our MEPs for the next 5 years? No, not exactly. But as John F. Kennedy famously said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. He then, of course, went on to say, Ich bin ein Berliner, which, as every schoolboy knows, means I am a donut. And continued his tour of German cities, declaring that he was a hot dog, a meatball, a stuffed rib of pork, a gingerbread cookie, and a dish of mixed vegetables. He didn't actually go to Hamburg, of course, because he's not daft. So, to paraphrase the great JFK, ask not what your party can do for you, ask what you can do for your party. And I know that that is a sentiment that will live in the hearts of everyone in this room, because that's why you're here. I have the enormous privilege of being the person in charge of selecting our MEP candidates. I've been responsible for the development of the process, I'll be chairing the selection panel, and I will ultimately be responsible for the production of the NEC-approved regional lists. So right now, I find I am one of the most powerful and therefore most popular people in the party. When the process is all over, and the candidates have been chosen, I will be slightly less popular. In fact, I will have about 20 people in the party still talking to me, and some of them will be muttering darkly about all I ever did was make them jump through a load of hoops that were quite unnecessary in order to claim their rightful place at the top of a list. So what hoops are we making our potential candidates jump through, and why? Well, first of all, I'd like to get something absolutely clear. Why do we put up candidates for the European elections? I want some audience participation here. Yes or no? Is it to send people to Brussels and Strasbourg who can help the EU to develop better laws and practices to govern us by? No. Very good start. Is it to provide a career path for people within UKIP who wish to become more effective politicians and legislators? No. Good. Or is it so that they will serve our country by sacrificing themselves to 5 years of dedicated, loyal service to our party, using all the resources and advantages that come with being an elected representative to the maximum to promote our cause and support our members in their struggle? Yes. You bet. So you will now have some idea about how I am approaching this task. As I have said a few times before, as far as I'm concerned, the people who we select to go to Brussels for us are privileged to serve us, that is. They are privileged to be the forlorn hope of our force, hurling themselves into the breach in the wall, creating the bridgehead which will ultimately lead to our withdrawal from the EU and their certain redundancy. Now, you may be interested to know that we have had quite a large number of applications. In fact, more than 330 people have requested an application pack. And for those of you who don't know, we have a two-stage process. During the latter part of May, people had to request an application pack. And if they couldn't do that before the 31st of May, they were unable to get in. And then once they received that application pack, they had 10 days to return it. And again, a very firm timescale. So more than 330 people requested an application pack. Completed applications have been received to date from, and I'm being approximate here, 180 people. So it'll be somewhere around 200, I suspect, when it closes finally on Monday. The reason why I'm slightly vague is because we have asked people to send back an application form, which is in 18 or 19 pages, plus 5 testimonials, plus a CV. And some people have sent all of those as individual pages. So we are counting large numbers of emails. So from around those 180, 200 people, we'll be looking to choose ultimately 71. Among these people who have applied are some very, very high quality candidates. People who would make absolutely superb MEPs. Loyal, hardworking, self-sacrificing, utterly dedicated to our cause. Including, I have no doubt, all of those of you in this room who put your hands up earlier. There are also, though, a startling number of people who seem to have woken up one morning and thought, you know, those UKIP folk seem to be doing rather well. I reckon they'll win the Euro elections next year, get a couple of dozen MEPs. I think it might be fun to be one. Of the 335 requests for an application pack, 38% were for people who have joined the party in the last 12 months. And 10% were from people who joined in May. Now, obviously, it is delightful to see that people are so enthusiastic about UKIP's prospects. But you will forgive me for being slightly less than thrilled about the prospect of selecting people who didn't think it worth joining the party until last Wednesday. I must say, I have to admire their self-confidence. I certainly would not have had the nerve to do that myself. Now, that is not to say that some recently joined members may not be selected. It does mean, however, that they will have to have, as some do, something really very special to offer us, and will be able to jump through some very high hoops. Equally, and let's get some balance in here, just because you've been a member of UKIP since God was a lad, it doesn't, I'm afraid, automatically follow that you are the kind of collegiate, cooperative, hard-working, conscientious and indeed sane person that we need to make up our MEP cadre. Clearly, again, I'm not talking about anyone in this room, but I'm sure we're all thinking of a fellow member right now. So, to the process. As I said, The prerequisite for entering the process is to be on the UKIP National Approved Candidates list, i.e. to have passed at A grade the assessment which Lisa Duffy and her team have been administering for the past 2 years. Since I thought it worth giving a warning in April that we were about to open the MEP lists and anybody that was not on the National Approved list would not be able to get in, we have, of course, poor Lisa has been absolutely inundated with requests for assessments, both from new members and even from some longer-serving members who should have actually done it months or years ago. Now, I know that some people have had to wait a bit for their assessments, but everyone who has been on the waiting list for some time has been prioritised. Lisa has done her best and has done huge numbers. She and her team have done literally huge numbers of Westminster assessments over the last 3 weeks. And some of people like Rob and others in this room have been working their socks off to make those happen. But I have now told Lisa to stop bending over backwards and to get on with trying to win us some votes in Aberdeen. You may be aware that there is a by-election going on in Aberdeen, Donside, in which we may slightly redress the balance of the BBC's opinion of how popular we are in Scotland. So secondly, all the applicants have had to fill out an extensive application form that I mentioned earlier on and send it in with a CV and, before they go any further, 500 quid. I make no apology for the fee. We are actually barely covering our costs in this exercise. There has always been a fee to enter the MEP lists, and I believe this year's is no higher than before and possibly lower. Third, we are filtering all the applications according to the rules laid down by the NEC, particularly regarding length of membership, for reasons that were obvious from what I said earlier. And we are forwarding only those whom we believe have a very strong case for candidacy. The applications and CVs are then independently analysed by a third-party specialist recruitment and HR consultancy called IHL. Now, their analysis will be used to help us ask the right questions in the interviews. IHL have in fact helped us to design and document this whole process so that it is fair, professional and legally watertight. Having a third-party professional consultancy design the process makes it very much less likely that any unsuccessful applicant will be able to show that we have acted improperly, which I think is very important. A panel of 12 interviewers have been recruited and trained. Like those that developed the system, they are all, of course, people who are not standing themselves and are respected members of the party. I'm proud to say this is the first time that we have done this process where the entire process from end to end has been designed and administered by people who are not standing. I think that's quite an important development. During the second half of June and through July, we will be interviewing all those long-listed candidates. They will undergo a series of tests, culminating in public speaking tests, at which members of the party will be able to hear the candidates speak at events organised on a regional basis. And again, your ROs will be organising those very shortly. Finally, we will produce a graded list of candidates. 60 for England, 12 for Scotland, 8 for Wales and 3 for Northern Ireland. For England, we are producing just the 60 that we need, and then there'll be some reserves. In Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, we're producing essentially shortlists for the purpose of creating the ballot. After an additional screening by our third-party partners to make sure that they don't have anything lurking in the background that might come and trip us up later, or that they've been a bit economical with the truth, these will be offered to the members in the respective countries in a national ballot in September. This will be administered independently by Electoral Reform Services. So why a national ballot, I hear you ask? Actually, you were politely silent, but I'm sure various of you were gagging to ask. Well, one of my tasks as the overseer of this process was to learn from previous experiences and to try and improve upon them. In the last 2 selections, it has been clear that regional ballots do provide an opportunity, and not only the regional ballots themselves, but the 5 intervening years between them, provide an opportunity for people who as you might say, have a slightly overdeveloped ambition to be an MEP, to influence the result in their region. The national ballot scheme is quite simply a way to diffuse that. After all, we select our MEPs to represent UKIP in Brussels, not to represent their region. As we agreed earlier, our MEPs are not here to build up their own power bases in regions invented by the EU. They are here to work as our team to build our cause, a national cause. Why should a member in Carlisle, for instance, not have the chance to vote for Stuart Agnew or Margot Parker? Other candidates are available. No endorsement is implied. Right? They're perfectly entitled to vote regionally if they wish. The voting is in 1 to 10 order, so you can make your preferences clearly known. That means that whoever you put first will get 10 points, and the second will get 9, and so on. So if you decide to vote only for people in your own region, you will in fact be expressing a series of preferences within that region. And your favourite will have the advantage. Now the key question. Candidates will not be parachuted into the top places in other regions just because their own are full up. We will ask every candidate in advance to declare the region they are standing for, and that will be shown on the ballot paper and in the accompanying material that you will receive from them. So, for instance, if the top 7 places in the ballot are all taken by South East candidates, which I'm sure is possible, they will be offered the top 7 places on the South East list. Whoever is the highest ranked candidate for the North West, say, will get the top slot in that region. Now, that is of less concern perhaps to you in the South East who are going to vote all your candidates to the top of the list, but it is quite a large concern to people in the North West who have less members. The only exceptions to this will be that some candidates will have a case for standing in more than one region. If they can make that case convincingly to the selection panel, and they will have to make a very strong case, they will be eligible to be transferred to their second choice region. The criteria for assessing these matters will again be consistent and fair and drawn up in consultation with our third-party partners. Finally, the regional lists will be ratified by the NEC. Now, some people also are worrying about this, but I would like to say just this. The European election campaign is this party's big event. In 2004 and 2009, it was our breakthrough, keeping us in the game and providing the platform for our further growth and success to the astonishing position that we find ourselves in today. And I must say, when I first got involved actively with the party in the run-up to the 2009 European election, the first thing I did was to actually Google UKIP and find out what I'd got involved with. And the mass media told me that basically I'd just joined a party that was more or less non-existent and was going to be wiped out to obliteration in the 2009 European elections. So from that point to where we are today has been the most astonishing success. And that is down to you people. Give yourselves a round of applause. So in both 2004 and 2009, those European elections were critical breakthroughs for us. But we have had to struggle with teamwork problems throughout that time. I think you will agree. The European election campaign is funded and fought nationally, right across the country. And it is fought to gain votes for UKIP, and this is the point I really want to stress as often as I can. The name on the ballot paper is UKIP. It isn't any of those individuals you're going to select. It is UKIP. That is who the people will vote for. It's fought, as we said earlier, to create a team of people who will carry our fight forward through discipline, loyalty, and self-sacrifice. It is not fought to give a political career to any individual. Or if it is only to ensure that our leader can continue to harry the opposition from his position on the front bench in Brussels, a position which has been regularly jeopardised over the past 4 years by some of our MEPs wandering off sideways, and so destabilising the existence of the group that keeps him there. Increasingly, indeed, the pivotal role of our MEPs in providing critical mass for the party is being taken over by our growing band of councillors. And rightly so. The NEC is the guardian of our success. It is directly elected by our members. It knows that when the membership has spoken, its wishes must be respected. Having chaired the NEC for the past 3 years, I can tell you that any suggestion that it is the poodle of the chairman or the leader is very, very far from the truth. And if anybody would like to see me afterwards, I will show you the bruises on my back to prove it. You may be sure that the NEC will take its responsibilities to the party and the members extremely seriously, and that we will go into the elections in 2014 with an absolutely brilliant cadre of men and women ready to take our cause forward as a team. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to do the most difficult thing we've ever had to do, to find the 30 men and women who will march off to Brussels next September, with knapsacks on their backs, the band playing, and the children running gaily alongside the column waving their handkerchiefs. Thank you all for taking part, all of you who've put your names forward, all of you who will take care to try and choose the right people to represent you, and all of you who will pound the streets to make sure that UKIP wins the European election in 2014, and so reconfigure politics in this country for good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.